So I'd now like to ask you all to give your attention to Brother Todd Smoke, who will speak to us on sore spots.
Bringing security with me. Good evening. I am Brother Todd Smoke. I am from Canada, so it's a pleasure to be here. First and most importantly, today is a very special day. Today is Canada Day, eh? But the story is I'm a transplanted American. I was born in Niagara Falls, New York, lived in Rochester, and moved to Canada when I was 12 years old. In 1976, that was a very special year for the U.S. as well, 200 years old, 1976. But I learned some things since moving to Canada. I used to say roof, now I say roof. Napkins are serviettes, but I still say napkins. We say pop, not soda. And if you want to try on some sneakers, people don't know what you're saying in Canada. They say running shoes or runners. And they add an extra letter to some of the words too as well, like color, honor, labor, neighbor. They add a U between the O and the R. So they like to make a little bit more work up there. Canadians can be referred to as Canucks too as well. There's a whole team of them in Vancouver, British Columbia. So there's two Canadian teams, the Montreal Canadiens and the Vancouver Canucks. They say that Canada, 50% of Canada is A. And legend has it that they came up with the name for Canada. They got out a bag of letters, and the first letter they pulled out was C. A? Next letter, N. A? D. A? So took 3 letters to name our country. And we're already sorry for everything. So we're still sorry for the smoke that we sent down from Ontario and Quebec last year. So sometimes the Americans say, what are you sorry for? You don't have to be sorry for anything. So if we're in your way in the grocery aisle, sometimes we'll say sorry. No need to be sorry, they say. Each one of us has sore spots, spots that make us unattractive. For me, looking out at all of you tonight, all I see is perfect specimens. I don't see any of your sore spots, but it is sad to say that we all have a few unsightly features. So tonight, let's talk about one cause of sore spots, and that is holding grudges. A study shows that people who hold grudges are more depressed and feel more anxious. Holding grudges also increases our stress level, which can cause high blood pressure, heart problems, lowered immunity, and inflammation. Studies also highlight that stress caused by grudges and resentments can lead to physical problems such as our heart issues and high blood pressure, weakened immunity, also mental health issues such as increased anxiety and depression. But God forbids us to hold a grudge. As early as Leviticus, we learn that grudges are not acceptable to our Heavenly Father. The nation of Israel is instructed to not bear any grudge and to love their neighbors. Paul in the New Testament also is emphatic about not holding a grudge. In Ephesians, Paul says, "Do not let the sun go down on your wrath." This is another way of saying, don't hold on to what makes us angry. But why? What's wrong with stewing over the frustrating things others have done to us? God forbids grudges because they foster nothing but bitterness and eventually destruction. We read in Matthew 12, "Pursue peace with all people, and holiness without which no one will see the Lord." Looking carefully, lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by this many become defiled. Sorry, that was Hebrews 12. I think it said Matthew 12. Grudges destroy relationships. It is impossible to build or repair any relationship when one side will not let go of something but the other one has done unto us. When we hold on to grudges, they weigh us down and they can tear us apart. At one time in our lives, we have all held a grudge. A grudge is a persistent feeling of anger and resentment caused by perceived unfairness given unto us. Grudges enable us to constantly think about the events that caused us pain. Some personality types hold grudges more than others. Some people tend to hold on to anger longer than they should and are capable of holding a grudge, even when the other person has apologized. Some even hold on to a grudge even to their deathbed. When we were young, we most likely held a grudge against our parents. I can remember holding a grudge against my parents as I was a child because they made me go to bed when it was still daylight out. To me, this was a huge injustice, and I felt great hostility towards them. Going to bed early for me was a worthy reason to hold a grudge. Carrying a grudge takes a lot of work. To illustrate the work it takes to carry a grudge, we will watch a short video. Hopefully the audio works in this video. This video is called The Pet Grudge Video. Roger McFuddleton's Pet Grudge. I'll cross my fingers and hopefully this sound will play through.
Roger McFuddleton had a pet grudge. It was a cuddly and cute little thing, and they went everywhere together. Roger took his pet grudge to the office where he worked. He took it to the grocery store. He even took it for walks. But the grudge would never do anything but make annoying noises until Roger would pick it up and hold it again. All of Roger's friends who had cats and dogs for pets were puzzled. Roger's grudge didn't catch frisbees. Roger's grudge was no fun to play with and had no sense of humor. But Roger McFuddleton was never seen without his pet grudge. As time passed and the seasons changed, the cuddly, cute little grudge grew into a bigger, less cuddly, less cute grudge. But Roger didn't mind. He and the grudge were happily inseparable. As time passed and the seasons changed, Roger's pet grew into a rather large, hungry grudge. It ate everything in sight, even Roger's furniture. The grudge grew so large that Roger couldn't take it outside anymore. But Roger didn't mind. He stayed at home with his not-so-cute, not-so-cuddly, rather large, hungry pet grudge. As time passed and the seasons changed, Roger McFuddleton grew older, and the rather large grudge grew even larger and more cranky. Roger's friends grew older too. They moved away with their pet cats and pet dogs that caught frisbees and played with balls of yarn. Roger McFuddleton and his pet grudge were all alone. One day, Roger put an ad in the newspaper. It said, "Pet grudge, free to a good home." He listed his phone number and waited for someone to call. But no one ever did. As time passed and the seasons changed, Roger had nothing else to feed his pet grudge. "I'm sorry," said Roger, "but you've eaten everything I have." "Not quite," said the grudge, and he ate the house. And then he ate Roger.
The pet grudge video illustrates how dangerous it is for us to carry a grudge. The pet grudge eventually destroyed everything, even life itself. Grudges are like hand grenades. It is wise to release them before they destroy you. There are examples of people in the Bible who carried grudges. Let's look at a few of these grudge holders and see what happened to them because of the grudges that they held. Cain and Abel are the first two sons of Adam and Eve. Cain, the firstborn, was a farmer. Cain had an honorable profession, as God had instructed Adam to till the ground. Cain was doing this work. His brother Abel was a shepherd, and the brothers made sacrifices to God, each of his own produce. But God favored Abel's sacrifice instead of Cain's. God brought the fruit of the ground. Cain brought the fruit of the ground, an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Cain was angry because God favored Abel's offering. Cain had a huge grudge against his brother Abel. Cain was angry and his countenance fell, which means he was seething about his perceived injustice. God gave Cain an opportunity to correct the situation. "If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? If thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door." That opportunity would come in the form of sacrificing a lamb. A sin which lay at the door, readily available, was a sin offering. If Cain let go of his anger and grudge against his brother, he could have obtained a lamb from his brother Abel and offered an acceptable sacrifice. But Cain's anger seethed, and the result of Cain's grudge resulted in Cain murdering Abel. His grudge resulted in him killing his brother. We have all felt like Cain at some time in our lives, having had our faults pointed out. We feel like getting mad instead because of Cain's murder and his grudge against his brother. He was cursed from the earth, and God cursed his livelihood as a farmer. God said, "When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth." God punished Cain for murdering his brother, for holding a grudge against Abel. And Cain said unto the Lord, "My punishment is greater than I can bear." The account of Jacob and Esau is another illustration of the dangers of holding a grudge. Jacob and Esau were twins. Esau was the firstborn and his father's favorite, and Jacob was his mother's favorite. Esau became a skilled hunter, a man of the open fields, but Jacob was an even-tempered man living in tents. Isaac loved Esau because he was a hunter, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So Esau became a cunning hunter, and Jacob a plain man dwelling in tents. Their characters, sketched in a few words, could not be more different. Esau delighting in the chase and the kill, and Jacob, a shepherd, dwelling close to home. Isaac loved Esau because of venison he so desired. One day Esau came in from the field, and he was exhausted. He said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stew, for I am exhausted." Jacob said, "Sell me your birthright now." Esau said, "I am about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear unto me now." So he swore unto him and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate and drank and rose and went his way. Sorry, I've lost my pointer here. Can't find it. Maybe if I go back. Okay, we'll just continue on. Jacob deceived his father and received the blessing that Isaac wanted to give to Esau. We are familiar with the account of Jacob dressing up like Esau, with hair in his arms and getting the blessing from his almost blind father. When Esau finds out about the blessing to Jacob, he is enraged. So Esau forgot that he sold his birthright to his brother. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. Esau's grudge against Jacob festered and grew. Esau gets angry. He fails to see his own wrong in giving away his birthright. Esau blames Jacob, became jealous, and does not take responsibility for his own action. He holds a grudge against his brother and is determined in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching, then I will kill my brother Jacob." Another example of a grudge being held in the Bible is the grudge that Joab had with Abner. Joab and Abner lived during the time of King Saul and King David. At this time, there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. After Saul's death, Abner, who was the commander of Saul's army, took Saul's son Ishbosheth and made him king over Israel in the north. At this time, David was king in Judah in the southern area. There was a battle between Ishbosheth and David's army at Gibeon, a battle between the north and the south. And Joab was the commander of David's army, and Abner was the commander of Ishbosheth's army. And this battle was part of a civil war between the north and southern kingdom. Joab's two brothers were fighting for David, and Joab's youngest brother was Asahel. Asahel was swift of foot like a gazelle in the open field, or like a wild deer. There's a legend that was told that he was running through a wheat field and the stalks wouldn't bend. Asahel was one of David's mighty men. It appears that David's army was winning, and Abner attempts to escape from the battle. Asahel, Joab's youngest brother, runs after Abner. While he's escaping, young Asahel soon caught up to Abner, as Asahel was a very fast runner, and he was fast as a gazelle or a deer. Asahel wanted to kill the general of the opposing army. He wanted to kill Abner. Abner begged Asahel to stop pursuing him, but when Asahel refused, Abner thrust the blunt end of a spear through Asahel's body, killing him. Joab was seething with anger against Abner because Abner killed Asahel, his brother. Abner met with King David and made an agreement to bring the entire nation of Israel under David's control. David welcomed Abner and agreed to the negotiations. The proceedings were ratified by a feast. Almost immediately after, however, Joab, who had been sent away, returned. When Joab found out that David had made an agreement with Abner, he was very angry. Joab accused Abner of falsehood. According to Joab, Abner was only seeking to weaken David. Without David's permission, Joab immediately sends messengers to recall Abner, and when Abner returns, Joab kills him. Joab avenged his brother's death by killing Abner. So Joab kills Abner because of his grudge against him for killing his brother Asahel. In the end, Joab's grudge cost him his life. On David's deathbed, he told his son Solomon to have Joab killed, in part because Joab killed Abner. Solomon ordered his death by the hand of Benaiah. Joab learned of his death sentence and fled to the tabernacle and sought refuge by clinging to the horns of the altar. Running away was an admission of his guilt. He is a drowning man, and he is grasping at a straw. The altar of burnt offering had a horn at each of the four corners. Joab fled to the altar, which was a recognized asylum. But the altar afforded no sanctuary to the rebel and murderer. Maybe Joab thought that no one would be killed at the altar, as it would defile it with blood, that which was sacrificed to God. And the altar was a place to commune with God. It was a place of worship, a place to call upon his name, and his four horns symbolized God. To review, the Bible forbids us having grudges and carrying them. We've seen that grudges take a lot of work and can consume us. So we've looked at three people in the Bible, Cain, Esau, and Joab, who had grudges, and because of the grudge, life did not work out too well for them. We'd like to have one final demonstration on how heavy it is to carry a grudge. Brother Trent Johnson has volunteered to do this demonstration and has been practicing for a very long time. At first, Trent is going to demonstrate what it's like to go through life without a grudge. So, life as Trent lives is represented by this ball of life. And he will go around and do his daily tasks, such as waving hi to people, or cutting the lawn, or waving to his friends, going to visit people, going to Bible school even.
Brother Trent Johnson, how good to see you.
Yes. See how easy it is for Trent to go through life with this ball. Very easy for him to do things. So it's not too hard for him to go through life and balance this ball under his arm. But what happens if someone criticizes Trent for something? He could develop a grudge. And he has to carry this grudge too as well. You see things that he is able to still do while holding life ball. So now Trent has a grudge. We'll see how easy it is for Trent to balance both of them. So things aren't as easy anymore. He can't wave as easily to his friends at Bible school. See, he doesn't respond, and people think he's being rude. He's got to take up 3 chairs now when he goes to dinner. And he gets tired very easy carrying this grudge ball. So as we said, the grudge can weigh us down. So he asked for help from his fellow laborers if they could help him with his grudge. But we were unable to help him because it's his own grudge that he has to carry. And nobody can help him get through the bad feelings that he has against another. But Easy Street is no longer the place where Trent is, as he carries both of these balls. It's a hard life. He seemed to have it all together until he picked up the grudge, but no longer. He didn't have a worry in the world. Thank you very much, Trent, for displaying how hard it is to carry a grudge. He did better than McFuddleton. Tonight, Brother Trent looked like a healthy, young, strong man. But as he continued to carry the grudge ball, his health went downhill. This list outlines the physical problems we can get from carrying a grudge, including high blood pressure, heart disease, even diabetes. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. But we are the ones who ends up getting burned. The problem with grudges, besides the fact that they are hard work to carry around, they don't serve the purpose that they're there to serve. They don't make us feel any better or heal the hurt. At the end of the day, we end up as proud owners of our grudges, but still without the experience of comfort that we ultimately crave since the original wounding. Our grudge becomes a badge of honor, a way to remind others and ourselves of our pain and deservingness. So the burning question is, how do we release or get rid of our grudge? Jesus spoke about the parable of the lost son, which was read from our reading from Luke 15. The older son is an example of a man in the Bible who held a grudge. But the father is an example of a man who did not hold a grudge against his son. A father with 2 sons, and the youngest son asks for his inheritance. The son squanders his inheritance and returns home to humble himself before his father, who celebrates his return with a feast. The older brother refuses to welcome the brother home. He became angry when he found out what the music and merriment at the feast was all about. In the older brother's eyes, he had great status. He had never gone astray from his father like the younger son had. His jealousy boiled over and could not get past it. The father tried to reason with his son. He told him that he was right to celebrate because his brother was dead and is now alive. But did the son listen to the father? There Jesus stopped his parable, so it is unfinished. Did the older brother have a change of heart and join the happy celebrations? Or did he persist in the self-righteous aloofness and his unforgiving spirit? The parable is unfinished. Although we do not know if the older son let go of his grudge, we do know that the only way to let go of a grudge is for us to forgive. In Ephesians, we are told to put away bitterness, wrath, and evil speaking, to be tender-hearted and forgiving as God forgave us. A Christadelphian presented a 7-step guide in order to help us forgive. These include trying to forget about the injustice, not wishing harm to the other person, to stop trying to teach someone a lesson, to think more about others, to pray to God. Forgiveness is a key to healing communities. When we forgive the negative effects of a grudge holding will be decreased. We just have to remember the negative health effects of holding on to a grudge. There are many lists of steps to forgiveness. These 8 steps are also helpful to acknowledge the pain, to think through the pain, and put ourselves in the shoes of the offenders, those who offend us. So in everything, so do to others as you would have them do to you, from Matthew 7. Remember that God forgave you. Remember that God commands us to forgive. Our God is a forgiving God, which is a great thing. In Psalms, God is described as a merciful, slow to anger, and a forgiving God. He will not always chide, means God will not hold a grudge against us. He does not treat us as our sins deserve or repay us according to our iniquities. He does not deal harshly with us as we deserve. We need God to be forgiving unto us, so we should be forgiving of others. Forgiving means not holding any grudges. Mark counsels us, when you stand praying, forgive. If you do not forgive, neither will your Father which is in heaven forgive your trespasses. So holding a grudge can be very serious. If we don't forgive, God will not forgive us. We all desperately need God's forgiveness, for we all sin and come short of the glory of God. Since we all sin, we all need forgiveness, and we should forgive others and not hold any grudges. So let's stop holding grudges. Our eternal life depends on our ability to forgive.